Lots of Aries energy. Um, I think generally the people, like as a whole, people are gonna start getting real impatient. And instead of sitting around waiting on things to happen, we're just gonna start taking initiative and start doing things ourselves. Very Aryan like, and I think probably for like 6 months to a year or so, we're just gonna start doing things. Like being a little bit more impulsive, probably in good ways and in bad ways, but probably like just taking initiative and just trying things out, just seeing what happens, and instead of sitting around waiting on things to happen or um, spending so much time like going back and forth mentally with things, we're just gonna start doing, acting, and then figuring it out as we go. Um, and just start building strength and skills through practice, trying shit out. Very Aryan like. I mean, the North Node is in Aries. I think we're going to start learning through, of course, trial and error, because there can be many accidents and mishaps that are great teaching moments that really help lessons stick. So not without accidents, not without mishaps, not without failures, but we're just gonna start doing things and just with this courage, this bravery, this drive, this motivation that seems probably like it just came out of nowhere. It could come from anger. A lot of people are gonna learn how to channel and use their anger and use their frustration and use their impatience. It's gonna inspire them to act. Like the TikTok that I made yesterday. Like I do think that energy is coming. Maybe that was just me having a little bit of foresight, but I think that's just me having a Mars that's very strong. Um, all of this energy, by the way, happening right with my Mars. Like my Mars sits between where this Mercury and Moon in the eclipse is happening, so it's happening right over my Mars, um, which is interesting because I never considered that until now. But I think a lot of people are just gonna start being triggered to act on things, maybe things that you've dealt with for a very long time, like, and maybe it's just been there and unsettling, unsatisfying, or whatever. And finally, you're like, let me just start doing something. Maybe you act intuitively. Maybe you act in a way that is completely guided by higher powers because there's still a lot of Pisces energy going on. I think this new moon in Pisces we just experienced is still gonna sit with us for a while. Of course, like it activates something and then the energy unfolds over the next few weeks, months, whatever, and then it just keeps unfolding each cycle, new moon, full moon, special transits, once in a lifetime transits, all of the important transits, all of the ingresses, they happen and they unlock things, and we're just constantly unfolding and unpacking and integrating, learning, unlearning, reintegrating. So there's a lot of, yeah, like a lot of intuitive energy, a lot of spiritual energy, a lot of emotional energy with this moon, with this eclipse. Obviously, it's wait, is this one? I'm tripping. This one is a solar eclipse. However, where is it happening? In the bound of. So I guess not at a good spot. Happening in the bound of. Let's check this out. This is Jupiter, Venus. This is 10 degrees here, 11, 12, 13. This is 20. So it's happening in the bound of Mercury. I think Yeah, maybe a lot of the things that have been sitting in the mental space for a long time are all of a sudden going to start getting some action. Maybe all of a sudden we know what to do about something, or maybe we don't know what to do about something and we're just like, fuck it, I'm going to figure it out as I go. I have to do something though. I have to move. With a Mars ruled sign like Pisces, still being in Pisces. What did I say? A Mars rule sign like a Mars rule sign like Aries is what I meant to say. In Pisces is, I think a lot of us are just gonna be like, I don't know what to do, but I'll figure it out. And Mars obviously is not thriving in Pisces, but it requires you to tap into your intuition and be guided by powers higher than yourself, but also be guided by your emotions. So how you feel about something and how it's impacted you emotionally can definitely inspire your emotion. I mean, your ability to act on it, how you act on it, the passion that you act with. And yeah, like I said, learn how to channel and alchemize that anger, frustration, and patience and use it to your advantage. Use it to fuel your drive, your motivation, and your tenacity and your resilience and your courage and your bravery towards like taking on these big goals or whatever it is that you're doing. It's like if you're stepping into the darkness and you really don't know what you're getting into, but you know that you need to do something, you need to move, you need to act. You're guided by spirit, you're guided by higher powers. Mars and Saturn are together. The malefics are together in Pisces. People look at the malefics and they think like, oh, this automatically means bad, or the benefics, and they're like, oh, this is going to be good stuff. But there's the catch-22. There is yin and yang in everything. There's always the good and the bad and the good. There's nuance in all things. So it's very important to unpack the consequences that the benefics bring as well as the malefics bring. With that said, Saturn and Mars together in Pisces is going to get you to act responsibly and act like you may have to act in a slower way than you prefer to. Saturn likes to move slow and take its time, but Saturn what am I trying to say? Mars is exalted in Capricorn for a reason, and Saturn rules Capricorn. So together, I do feel like it has that little bit of blend together. But Saturn also rules Aquarius, and Mars also rules Scorpio. That part is irrelevant right now. I'm just saying there's going to be a blending of these energies with Saturn and Mars together. What bound is this in? This is in the bound of Jupiter. So there's an expansion of faith. There's an expansion of spiritual activity. There's an expansion of access to spiritual planes, realms, guides, but also tapping into that emotional body, doing a lot of emotional healing. Again, this eclipse is conjunct Chiron. A lot of people are going to be triggered. I think a lot of spiritualists will probably know how to navigate it just fine. However, a lot of people are going to be triggered, and you're going to be triggered to act, to do something, instead of picking at the wound, looking at the wound, or accepting the wound and just being like, it just is what it is. Maybe a lot of people are going to be inspired to heal, to start seeking avenues of healing. Yeah, also with, like, going back to what I said about being guided to act by intuition, that was definitely confirmed for me when I see the ruler of this eclipse is in Pisces. There's a lot of spiritual guidance and a lot of being moved or inspired by the unseen, the unknown, or the emotional body is happening. A lot of needing to trust the unseen, a lot of needing to rely on sixth senses, but also to slow down, move more responsibly, and to move with more intention, more integrity, to be more thorough. But also it's like if you're walking through a dark room, right? You don't know what's in this room. If it's pitch black and you can't see anything that's in front of you, obviously you're probably going to move a little bit slower. That's what this Saturn conjunct Mars in Pisces ruling this eclipse conjunct Chiron is giving. You're moving slowly. It's going to take a while, and it may feel like things are moving slowly, but I think you're actually making leaps and bounds of progress. You just probably won't feel like you are. Maybe the room is this big, but you got to move through it in slow motion, so it's going to feel like it's taking you days to get through it, but really, you know what I mean? It didn't take that long, if that makes sense. So the perception of how we get through this next cycle could feel like we're moving in slow motion, like things are slowing down, or like you are navigating or moving really slowly because you're not sure what's going on. There could be mishaps, it could be accidents, it could be extremely challenging, whatever this is that you're navigating. Look at your Aries house. But I do think it's going to be well worth it by the time you get through it. The discipline, the responsibility, the encouragement, the scars that you get from the battle you go through are reminders of all of the things that you've learned. So the next cycle is gonna prepare us for, it's gonna strengthen us in ways that we never saw coming. It's gonna prepare us for whatever that we're going to then reap that is just for us, because Aries is about the self. It could be extremely cerebral with this happening in the bound of Mercury. I think a lot of people are going to be in their heads about things. A lot of people are probably going to seek out therapy for the first time. Again, a lot of people I think will experience or feel like they are experiencing psychosis. Especially if this is not the type of energy that you can push down and try to suppress. It's going to explode, it's going to blow up, it's going to backfire. It's not going to happen in a pretty way with this energy. A lot of people can experience psychosis, spiritual psychosis, extreme mental health dis-ease and debilitation, such as like schizophrenia, things like that. A lot of people can feel like they are not in control of their mind space, or and I think these are the people who struggle with submission to or acknowledgement of the spiritual and emotional presence of our world. If that's something that you ignore, you shut out, you suppress, it can backfire in a bad way. Because again, Mars is in Pisces. Mars does not have the control that it wants to. Mars is a fiery planet in a watery sign. It's not going to thrive the way it needs to. So it's going to take a little while before you feel like you kind of catch your wind. So in the beginning, things can be a little bit tough. These can be very challenging. These can be a little bit discouraging. However, there are some harmonious aspects happening. There's a trine by whole sign with this. Oh no, this isn't a trine. This is sextile. Between this whole sign sextile between this Mars and Saturn and this Jupiter and Uranus that is approaching technically it's already in a conjunction, 19, 20, 21. It's already three degrees away from one another. So it's that conjunction is getting stronger. So this harmonious whole sign sextile is supportive. It means that unexpected support and blessings can come out of nowhere if you trust the process, because Jupiter rules Pisces. Jupiter is like, if you just trust me, it's like if you can make it through this dark room that's this big, that feels like it's 10 feet wide, you know what I mean? If you can walk through this room and through this darkness, it's going to feel like it's taking forever. But if you trust me, there's a big blessing on the other side for you that you would never, ever see coming. So it's going to be challenging. It's going to be threatening. It's going to be hard. It's going to be scary and dark and all of the things. I feel like people with Scorpio, like if you have sun signs on this side of the chart, I think you'll be fine. Libra to Pisces, folks, if you have a nocturnal chart, if you have a lot of Capricorn placements, a lot of Aquarius placements, Mars, like if you're ruled by one of the malefics, for example, so Scorpio, Scorpio, Aries, Pisces, Aries, Capricorn, like y'all, we are accustomed to darkness. We understand darkness. We know how to navigate darkness. We have never been able to avoid darkness. Aries is going to dive headfirst into the darkness because they just love a thrill and love a challenge. I think a lot of us are learning to adapt this type of energy towards attacking and confronting our demons. The things that live in our minds that are taking over or that feel like they are not allowing us to have control. There's a confrontation happening here. There's also a sextile by whole sign between Pluto and this eclipse. Venus and Pluto here. So I think there's going to be a lot of support, a lot of people, there could be a lot of trauma bonds. I think a lot of relationships will be formed just to help you get through this little dark period that you have to go through. And then some of those relationships we may attempt to hang on to those relationships, but I do think that for a lot of us, it's going to be best to let go. And because of this Venus-Pluto, it could be very difficult to let go. Some of the relationships will be beneficial. Some of them will be toxic, and there'll be a trauma bond. I think there are going to be lots of trauma bonds regardless. This is just like a side note tangent. I think some trauma bonds can be... there can be a healthy dynamic within a relationship that started from a trauma bond. You can notice that, hey, we bonded from trauma and we're both intentionally working towards healing. You know what I mean? But if that's all you know, it could be a situation where like one person is like, okay, I want to move on and I want to change and I want to grow, and the other person doesn't, and I don't want to let you go. And it could be that dynamic. But this is years later down the line. You know what I mean? How this shit can play out. Because let's say this Aries eclipse activates a 3-year cycle for you, right? Maybe you have these friends and these people that you connect with that are on a similar journey for this 3 years, right? You get through the 3 years. It's just like college. Like you get through the 3 years. Some people drop out. Some people, some people drop out and then they expect you to drop out too. Or, you know what I mean? Like, or some of you finish and then you go separate ways and you just don't connect anymore, but you still try to force the connection to work. And the more you try to make it fit, the more things feel like they're not working out. Those types of dynamics can play out years down the line. But I do think there's going to be support for now. There's going to be connections that feel very serendipitous, guided by higher powers, like chance happenings, people who you bond with very deeply, very quickly, and who really help you and make you feel comforted and validate the experiences that you have during these next few years. I think spiritual communities are being built and expanded, just communities in general. But I think as people connect more deeply with themselves, they connect to the spirit and the soul of themselves, and that inspires them to seek more spiritual connection, whether they're doing it consciously or subconsciously. I think this is just the direction people are going in. They need something that's that they can trust, and nature is trustworthy. We know what we're getting with nature. We know what we're getting with the things that have always existed from the beginning of time. So I think a lot of people are going to start connecting to different forms of spirituality and connecting with other people in ways that are more spiritual and more aligned in a omniscient type of way, like all encompassing, like non-denominational, like type of way, you know what I mean? Like communal type of religions or spiritual practices. I don't want to say religions because that's kind of strictly dogmatic, but I do think people are going to start moving towards living more communally, or trying to figure out how. Maybe this full moon, this eclipse is going to start initiating some of those things. And I think it's going to initiate us to act in ways that it's not clear to us automatically. I think we're going to feel like we're being operated by a puppeteer. And at first it can trigger us to feel untrustworthy of the actions that we're partaking in. I think a lot of us will feel like, okay, this is weird. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I know there's a reason. Like, I'm not sure why, but I trust that it will be revealed to me. And some of us will be distrustful and try to suppress it, try to ignore it. But I feel like those of us who embrace being guided by our higher selves, I think affirmations will be a great tool to use also during this period. But those of us who trust are in for a big surprise, a big blessing, a big breakthrough. Even if it's just as simple as building a trust and connection with spirit, with the universe, with God, with the higher powers, whatever the higher power is that you believe in, with the mother goddess, whatever. Get out of that cabinet, Venus. I think even if it's just as simple as learning how to build community with other people, learning how to trust other people, learning how to sense your intuition, learning how to use your intuition, learning how to sharpen your intuition and your discernment. Even if it's just a period of experiences that challenge you to trust something that you can't see so that you build this skill, this tool that you never had before. That's a great 726. Okay, yeah, I know. That's a great blessing to be gained from life experiences. That is an extremely helpful tool. Being able to have discernment and intuition and knowing how to use them. Being in a room full of liars and being able to know that without having any confirmation or validation from any external source. That type of power coming from within because you did the work that connects you directly to the divine as an individual. I think that's what a lot of people are experiencing. A lot of people are just going through experiences that are going to sharpen them, make them a warrior, make them a fighter, make them stronger, make them more courageous, more brave, more confident. What else? Feel free to ask any questions. I'm just kind of channeling right now. Neptune is also conjunct Venus. I think a lot of new relationships will come right now. Again, I think a lot of these relationships will be very essential for the journey. But once the journey is complete, I think a lot of these relationships will dissolve, and it will, I think some of these, it could be like some people experience like a guardian angel, like this person manifests out of thin air just to help you get from point A to point B, and then they're never there again. Like I got a reading from this guy one day. I was walking on what was it, Hollywood, or was it Highland? Was it Hollywood Boulevard or was it Highland? I don't remember. Whichever one crosses with Las Palmas. Highland? I think it was Highland. Anyway, it was not long after I moved out here. I was supposed to be going somewhere, but I was kind of killing time because if I left and went there right away, I was going to be there super, super early. So I was like, oh, I'm just walking around. But I was walking the wrong way. And I knew I was walking the wrong way, but I kept walking that way. It was a lot of things going on. It was daytime, very people-y, very touristy. And I got to the cross street of Las Palmas. Well, right before I got to the street where Las Palmas was. No, I was looking. I saw there was a tattoo shop. And I went in there and I asked them, I think, how much they charge for constellation piercings. Because I wanted to get my ears pierced. Hush! Anyway, across the street, I saw this guy setting up. He had just sat down, started setting up to do readings, to do tarot readings. And I was walking, wasn't really paying him much mind, but I was walking and he asked, could he see my hand? And I was like, oh, which one? Do you want to see the one I write with? And before I could say, do you want to see the one I write with? He said, let me see your dominant one. I was already handing him my right hand. And so he started telling me things and I was like shaking my head to confirm like he was right. He was like, you might as well just come get a reading since you're right here. So I was like, all right. I sat down. He did a reading for me. And I remember people looking at us, but they were looking at me. They were looking at me, not him. And he did this reading for me and was super, super accurate. And I remember telling him, yeah, I read tarot too. Not saying like, oh, like, I don't need you to read for me. I read for myself. But I was just like, oh yeah, like I'm a reader too. So like, yeah, like, let's see what you can see from me that I can't see for myself. Because obviously we can be subjective to our own subjective experiences and have our blinders on sometimes. So, anyway, he started reading for me. He got into the relationship with my mother. He started talking about like my perception and views with just people and dating. He told me some other very specific things about myself that I won't get into. And then we wrapped up the reading and I gave like, it was like a donation-based reading. He was just like, give me whatever you can. I didn't really have a whole lot of money, but I was like, let me give this man something. I think I gave him like $20, which was like hard for me at the time because I think I was homeless. I had a job, but I was probably making like $200 every 2 weeks or something. Like I didn't have a whole lot of money. But the information that he gave me and the validation that it provided me was worth it. And I felt like it was like tithing. I have to tell spirit I appreciate it. And I don't know like what his situation was. He's probably way worse than me, in a situation that was way worse than what the situation I was in. Or that would be significantly more difficult for me to navigate. But he also gave me confirmation about the way I went about my journey with moving to Los Angeles and how I was able to get assistance and help from these people who seemingly were like guardian angels. Like people just kind of like fell out of the sky to help you. And you didn't have to compromise your integrity, basically, is what he told me. You didn't have to compromise your integrity at all to get what you needed. You never had to sell your body or sell your soul to get what you needed. And because of that, people give you what you need. And so that was a great confirmation for me at the time. I had been reading for a few years, but still, like, it was great confirmation for me at the time. Never saw that man again. And afterwards, I was like, what if he didn't even exist? What if all those people on the street were looking at me because it looked like I was sitting there talking to myself? And it was just something that I started entertaining in my mind. I mean, he was very real for me. He held my hand and read my hand and he pulled cards for me. But it was very interesting when I recalled the situation, how like I tried to find him again. He was not there. I never saw that man again. Not that I would expect to. Like LA is a very, very populated place. But like when people post up and do readings, usually you can find them in the same spot. But never when I have passed back by that cross street have I seen him in that spot again. And I feel like that type of situation will happen for people. Like you meet this person one time. I may do readings for people that I cross paths with one time, and I may be able to offer them some deeply spiritual and emotional validation and encouragement and guidance that sticks with them for the rest of their lives, and they never see me again. You know what I mean? It's like, was she even real? Did she just manifest just to help me cross the street? And did she just, teleport into the next time. Now y'all hating. I can't even channel good. But yeah, I think a lot of us will experience kind of guardian angels in situations where we have interactions with people who seemingly fall out of the sky to just what the hell to help us get to where we need to go. There we go. I can't change this. If you're having trouble seeing what I'm doing, it's probably the orientation. I didn't realize I had to pick the orientation. It used to let you see both, like what both look like, but the landscape orientation, horizontal orientation is probably going to show up best. I don't have a whole lot of time. I got to get off of here soon because I got to go make a run and do some other things. I may come back on later. But yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna download this live and upload it to YouTube since I didn't expect to start channeling, but I did. So that's just a little bit of what to expect with this eclipse that's coming on April 8th. It's conjunct Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. I think for a lot of us, this means confronting our demons, confronting our shadow, confronting the past experiences and traumas that we've gone through with bravery, with courage, with knowing that we're going into the unknown, but having the strength of our ancestors, having the strength of the people who have fought and fought and died before us. You know what I mean? Having all of the experiences of all of the failures, the wins, the losses, all of the people who have tried before us, having access to that within the cosmic and psychic realms, learning how to tap into that, learning how to channel that, learning how to use that, learning how to alchemize pain, how to alchemize fear, how to alchemize anxiety, taking all of those low vibrational feelings and emotions like anger and shame, and using it to fuel the motivation to evolve and become indestructible or invincible or powerful, to spite the people who hurt you or despite the people that hurt you, whatever your motivation is, whatever you have to use to get your brain to get on board with the spiritual mission. I think a lot of us will start to act, and while we're acting, will start to make more sense as we act, or as we do something, we start to realize, oh, I'm developing a skill. Like the more I do this, the sharper I become at it, or the better I become at it. And at first, when we initially begin to do something, it may not be clear to us why we're doing it. A lot of people probably will start like workout habits and regimens and things like that, like things that are very physical and require you to like really put a lot of physical effort into them, like working out, running, boxing, martial arts, weapons training, very Aryan-like things. But I think a lot of us will start to, I think the battle and the war for a lot of us is in our minds. And because it's in our minds, it's connected to our emotions, our past, and our traumas, our childhood. So we're putting on the battle armor, but we're gonna have to approach it in a way that's less aggressive. We're gonna have to have some tact, and that's where Saturn comes in. We're gonna have to slow the pace. We're gonna have to be tactful and responsible and consider cause and effect, consider the future. Like Saturn ruled Aquarius is always thinking of the future, you know what I mean? So how we use our time, how we use our energy, how we use our vitality, what we spend our energy on. I think a lot of us will start to realize, like, I don't have time to talk to certain people or to deal with certain things or to live or exist in certain spaces or within certain frequencies, because I have a bigger battle to fight. I have to slay these demons, these dragons over here, and I don't have time to kiki and whatever, you know what I mean, with somebody who's not willing to do that, or people who are distracted by things that are just not as important, because I understand that this situation is going to be a problem. If I don't deal with it now, it's going to be a bigger problem later. Or you're maybe just fired up and you just need something to do with your energy, and here comes this demon that is ready for you to fight. I think a lot of it will be nuanced, and a lot of us won't realize the demon that approaches or awakens, or whatever the dark shadow is, the darkness that we have to confront or navigate through, whatever that is. Some of us may not realize, like, oh, this is my responsibility. I have to do this. I'm the one. I'm the David to this Goliath. You know what I mean? I don't think a lot of us will understand that at first. But again, let your frustration be a guide. Let your frustration and your anger be a fuel that you use to channel, and ask your higher self, ask your spirit guides, intentionally connect through meditation, play music, and see what you just feel guided to do. I know, like, music is a great way to get me to do stuff. If I know that I have things that I want to do and I'm like, oh, I don't know where to start, I put on music, and whatever's the most important thing, I just end up doing that thing. And I just go from one task to the next task to the next task to the next task. It's like I'm in a trance. I think that will work for a lot of people, specifically because music associated with Venus and Pisces, and Venus and Neptune are conjunct. Venus and Neptune are both associated with arts and music. And Mars, the ruler of this eclipse, is in Pisces. Music can be a great tool, can help with healing, coping, just getting by, getting through, carrying on. Art of all kinds. I think a lot of people will be inspired to create art of some kind, something that is personal, something that is very personal, very very, very connected to the self. It could be not exposing something, but like inviting others to a new layer of the self. You could be being introduced to a new layer of self. I think a lot of us are going to have a series of spiritual awakenings that truly unlock an understanding of self. There could be other things that happen within the collective, within the government, that also lead to this, to lead to like lies being untold and cleared up, and all of a sudden there's this resonance deep within the self, deep within the soul, deep within the mind space, that just is like, whoa, there's a breakthrough, there's an unlocking of something, there's an understanding, there's an epiphany, there's a knowing, a validation, a clarification of some higher powers that resonates within the physical body, within the mind, within the emotional body, that shifts the way we move, that shifts the way we act, that shifts the way we do things, that shifts the way we react and plan and operate and just move and be through the world, and how we identify as a human being, as an individual, and how we express ourselves. That is the focus. That is what we're doing. We're confronting demons. We're slaying dragons. We are figuring out what the traumas are. We're embracing them, and we're learning how to heal, breaking cycles, breaking generational curses. We are healing and integrating and learning how to become more harmonious, and tackling mental health issues and confronting the darkness within and integrating shadows and or dying trying. Just to be funny, but in all seriousness, it will be a challenge. Some people will make it through, and some people will quit. That's just how it goes. Like with any thing that is challenging, you go through situations. You may go to school. Like say you go to trade school. Trade school is a great example. If you've ever gone to trade school, I've gone at least twice, 3 times actually. You can finish the program, and the people that you started with is not always the people that you finish with. And then the people that you finish with a year from then, they may not still be working in the field. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that. It's like that. There's something that we're experiencing that's going to connect us more deeply with ourselves. And in order to do that, we get a contrast of what is absolutely not us and what we get a validation of what is us. We get to explore the extremes because, again, Mars rules extremes. So yeah, we get to explore the extremes and figure out where we fall on that spectrum, where we authentically can exist and operate and move and act and be and dwell with others on that spectrum. So it's an exploration of extremes with bravery and courageous, and a lot of people will have a lot of arrogance, and I think that that's going to not work out well with Saturn and Mars being conjunct. I think that if you move with arrogance, accidents, the potential for accidents and swift karma is increased. Saturn rules karma. Mars wants things to be done fast. It's a harmonious whole sign aspect between Jupiter and Uranus. Like, just don't test the waters, okay? You can get the smack down from Spirit real quick. So, yeah. I think all of the heinous and intentionally abusive tactics from our government are going to backfire. I don't think this app is getting banned, meaning TikTok, because that's where I'm going live right now. I'm going to post this to YouTube later. I don't think that a lot of things that are intentionally targeting the people to break down the humanity and the bravery and the courage of the people is going to work. I think it's just going to backfire. I think it's going to backfire. It's going to piss people off. All of a sudden, people are going to get the juice, the motivation to fuck around and find out. And I think a lot of us are going to find out. But the things we find out are going to be tremendous and beautiful and positive. Even though while we're in the thick of it, things can feel very dark and seemingly rough, or we can feel like we may have made a mistake. But trust the process, trust your intuition, trust your higher power, trust your guides. It's a great time to connect to a spiritual guide, a spiritual leader, a spiritual advisor, a mentor, get a reading, get some Reiki. Getting initiated into Reiki could be a great idea if you deal with a lot of anxiety. I know it was a great tool for me. If you're in the city of LA, please connect with me. I would love to help initiate you, attune you to Reiki. What else? There's so much that I could tap on. I probably just have to come on again another time to talk about it. But for the sake of me having other things to do and this not being super, super, super long, I'm going to leave it at that. But yeah. Best of luck to you. It's happening in Aries. So look at where you have Aries. It's happening in Aries, and obviously in the bound of Mercury. So wherever you have this in your chart, in your whole sign chart, check that out. For me, it's in my 9th house. So I do expect it to be a very spiritual awakening experience. And I do think that I will be called to teach more, because this is the house of like higher learning, teaching, mentorship, oracles, guides. I am a Reiki master, as well as I have a metaphysical degree. So I do think that I'll be called to operate in these spaces more, as well as I'm an astrologer. So I do think that I'll be called to help guide and teach and support people a lot during this time. But I'm interested in what it means for me as an individual as well, and how my spiritual experience will expand and grow. And I know how I wanted to, but I don't know what Spirit has in store for me. So I'm very excited and open to diving into whatever battle is ahead, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm Mars and Aries, Scorpio moon in the 4th house. Okay. I'm ready. Okay. So if you're not ready, if you don't feel ready and you want to get ready and you're interested in booking a reading, I'm offering donation-based readings. You don't have to book it on my site, or you can book it on my site and then send me a message or send me a text message. I don't think my text message thing will show from my website is not up right now, so I don't think it's on my link tree. But you can send me a message, probably on Instagram or something. I don't know. I'll figure that out. Send me a message if you are interested in booking a donation-based reading, and we will set that up. You can book a 30-minute reading and then send me a message. It'll be a 30-minute reading that we do for a donation base. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end this and wish y'all the best. Peace and love. And yeah, hit your girl up if you need a reading.